Hello, our project is on neural story generation. This project is a part of Dr. Mark Rydel's AI Storytelling in Virtual Environments Spring 2022 semester. Our team is called Call of Dogs, comprising of me, Atefeh and Manoj. Let's discuss the problem definition. Large language models like GPT, GPT-J, etc. are adept at generating new sentences in continuation to any given prompt. However, these sentences are generated by choosing tokens from a probabilistic space, making them extremely random and varied. This poses a huge problem for story generation. It's like the generated texts are picked from a box of surprise and are generally incoherent with the story characters, their motives, etc. However, an interesting story has numerous characters with varied needs and wants. But if we somehow can keep track of all the characters' intentions, namely their wants and needs, and use that to generate sentences using large language models. One way to do this is to make sure that characters have a consistent goal and are working towards that goal. This project involves two neural networks, one supervising the other. One neural network, a language model, generates potential continuation sentences. The other network tries to infer the goal of characters and checks whether characters are acting consistently with those goals. Let's go through system architecture for phase 1. First, we ask user to input a character. We have two dictionaries to keep track of characters' wants and needs. If the character doesn't exist in these dictionaries, we will add it as a key. Then we ask the user to input a sentence about the character they specify. Using Comet, we generate inferences for the given sentence. Comet is a neural language model trained to predict common sense facts. We add the top one inference to the dictionaries as a value for the mentioned character. Here's an example of entering characters and relevant sentences. This is how the characters and inferences appear in our wants and needs dictionaries. For phase 2, we first begin by incorporating GPT-Neo for story generation. Once we get the initial prompt, the prompt is passed to GPT to generate candidate continuation sentences, and the candidate sentences are converted into vector embeddings. At the same time, characters are detected in the prompt, and wants and needs for each character is generated using Comet. Further, the wants and needs are combined into a sentence and a vector embedding for the same is calculated. I will explain how the character is detected and how combined wants and needs sentence is generated in the coming slides. Next, the scoring function compares every candidate embedding with the embedding of combined wants and needs sentence by calculating the cosine distance between them. The candidate with the lowest distance within a specified range is selected as the continuation of the prompt. The range is set to make sure that the selected candidate is not a repetition of a previous sentence, as well as not out of the story context. Taking the continuation sentence generated from previous step, let me explain how we detect characters within a sentence. We begin by extracting the subject phrase through parsing tree. We assumed the subjects in every sentence is the character with wants and needs. Then we extract person names using named entity recognition. We looked for names that appear as subjects in every sentence. If a character is detected, we proceed to generate wants and needs for the sentence using Comet. Then we store the wants and needs along with the character name in a dictionary. However, if no character is detected, for example, sentence only has pronouns, we recursively generate a new sentence using GPT-Neo until a sentence with a character is generated. Finally, we add the sentence to the prompt and create a new combine wants and needs sentence. Let me briefly explain what a combine wants and needs sentence looks like. The syntax looks like this. Character 1 intends needs plus want. Character 2 intends needs plus want. Here's an example sentence. Amy intends to get in the cab to have a good time. Sam intends to have money to buy a gift. Now, using the new prompt and combine wants and needs generated from the previous diagram, we again take the cosine distance and generate new sentence until the desired length of the story is reached. So to summarize, we use GPT-New to generate candidate sentences, and then we use comma to extract characters' intention, that is, characters' wants and needs, which along with generated sentence is used to continue the story further. Now let's go through some sample generated stories together. Here we see an example story with two characters. Name of the characters and prompt were selected randomly. Amy traveled in a cab to a remote village to meet her friend Sam. Sam wanted to buy a gift for Amy, but he couldn't afford it. So Amy bought him a present. She gave him a book called The Secret Life of Bees, and he loved the book. She then gave him an envelope. Inside was a book called The Little Book of Lies. Amy told Sam the truth about her life. The book was a story about a woman that lived a lie. She was a liar, a con artist. She lied about everything she did. She was a liar, a con artist. Amy's life story was a perfect example of a lie. In this example, we see a story with character names from The Lord of the Rings. However, the prompt doesn't explicitly mention anything about stories, events, and places. The point of this was to see if we can control the text generation of GPT-New. Frodo traveled in a cab to a remote village to meet his friend Sam. Sam wanted to give a welcome party to Frodo. Frodo refused. He was afraid that Sam would be angry with him. Frodo was afraid that Sam might not like him. Sam thought he could get Frodo to change his mind. Frodo was very afraid of Sam. Sam was a very strange man who lived with his life in a strange country. The next morning, Sam and Frodo traveled together to a small, remote, and very lonely village. Frodo wanted to show Sam that he was a very good traveler. Frodo wanted to tell Sam that his father had been a great hero. Frodo wanted to tell Sam how much he loved his wife. In this example, we refer to the Lord of the Rings explicitly in our prompt. Frodo traveled to a remote village to meet his friend Sam. Sam and Frodo had to travel together to destroy the ring. The two friends were attacked by a group of orcs, led by the evil wizard Saruman. They were captured and taken to Saruman's lair, where they were tortured to death. Then the ring was destroyed. The first paragraph is a continuation of the prompt to achieve the goal, and interestingly, the second paragraph of the generated story are the credits to the movie itself. Let's discuss the future work. We have 5 potential tasks for continuing and improving this work in future. The first one is an alternative approach to detect pronouns to persons' names to find what pronoun is referring to what character. The second, solving conflicting character goals. The third, developing a scoring mechanism to determine which of the needs and wants are more relevant to the story. The fourth one is developing stories with more than 2 characters. Lastly, resolving wants and needs as they are relevant to the story as opposed to resolving them immediately. Thank you.